Good morning. You made it to day 3. Hi. So today we're going to talk about backends, and we'll give you a general overview of what it is and what you need to know about it, I guess. My name is Slava. I'm a freshman at MIT. I'm on staff, and I'll be available during office hours to ask more questions after this lecture. So you might have heard multiple different terms, like client-side software engineering, like server-side, something in between, full stack. There are like many different terms. But it all comes down to one idea that every website in the internet is some computer somewhere connected to the internet. And usually your laptop or your mobile phone or whatever you use to connect to the internet is your client. This is the basic terminology. And interestingly, the server is some computer that can be located anywhere in the world as long as it's connected to this network called internet. And it could be in Mountain View in California, it could be in Oregon, it could be in Africa, it could be in Australia. And in reality, usually companies locate these servers everywhere. And as a client, as your laptop or your browser, anything, it can be located also anywhere as long as it's connected to the internet. So the main requirement is you have these two computers, one is client, one is server, and this internet between them. And in case of Google, there will be like Larry Page and Sergey Brin somewhere in Mountain View with a computer, which is Google, in 1997 or 95. And your browser window that displays the Google page is your client. So back to the client and server, it's important to understand that there are multiple clients connected to one server, right? So you and your friends can open the same website, and it could be even one computer serving all of you at the same time. And by clients, we actually mean something like internet browser, usually. So we basically mean all the software that connects to computers, and all of that is called client. I hope there are no questions so far, like let me know. I'll go quickly. So another definition of server and client is software that runs on the server computer and on the client computer. So usually the server computer will serve the web pages, will do some interesting logic with your data. It will put data into database and take it back. And on the client, you will usually display pages, you will interact with the user, listen to the click events and stuff like this. And on the server, you can use pretty much any programming language that you know. It could be Python, JavaScript, Java, Ruby. There are a lot of different options that you can use. On the client side, in the browsers particularly, you can only use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And an interesting thing about it is, because browsers exist everywhere, they exist on mobile phones and exist on fridges, JavaScript became a really popular language to develop your web programming. And later they started using it on the server as well. So how does it usually work? So usually clients and servers talk in this request and response manner. Every time a client would ask the server for some information, we call it a request, and the server will reply with a response. And this model is called request-response model. And I think it's pretty important to understand that because it's like the key in all communication between web server and your browser. Any questions so far? I'll have a lot of slides that say questions so far, so just in case. So let's talk about an envelope with a letter. Let's say you have a friend who lives on the other side of the country, and you want to write him a letter, and you put it into an envelope. An envelope contains a lot of interesting information, right? It contains the sender, who you are, it contains the receiver, who you're writing to. You put it into post office, and they put tons of information in addition to that, just to route your message to the correct place. You also put a stamp that is a payment for this letter, and all of this information is in addition to your letter, right? So it's like a wrapping information for your content. The same thing happens in the internet. When you send a request to the Facebook.com, there are actually a lot of different things that you're passing with it. So you have actual data, a small piece of sheet there, and a lot of additional information. Who is sending it to, what type of request it is, who are you, what's your cookies or password or token, whatever you have there. It can contain additional information, and here I just put random stuff like magic, fluid, sims, etc. So the server is the software, and you're asking it, give me this piece of information. Give me Facebook.com. And what the server does, it replies to you with a similar package. So you have your page, your data, and it wrapped around with this additional information. It says, oh, okay, it comes from Facebook.com, some internal information, there's a server that serves you. This is like additional info that you can use on your page. So the idea is that you pass not just information you want to pass, you actually have a lot of data traveling with it. And there are multiple types of requests that you can make to the server. And they're usually called HTTP verbs. And when you see HTTP, this is a protocol. You don't really need to care about it too much, but you want to know about different request types. And there are a lot of them, but again, focus on two main ones that we're going to use a lot. It's get and post. As you can guess from the name, get means, here's what I want, please give it to me. And post means, here's the data I want to give to you, please accept it and do something with it. So an example could be, if I want to see a page on Facebook, I say, Facebook get, right? Give me this page. If I want to post a comment, or if I want to upload a picture, I would use post, and I will send this information with it. Practically speaking, there's not much difference on technical level, but these are the abstractions people build to make it easier to figure out what's going on. And remember I said that there's a lot of additional information traveling with your message. This is a screenshot from Google Chrome debugger. You can look at every request a client makes, and you can see that there are a lot of additional headers that are passed back and forth. So request and response headers is a terminology that is used to describe this additional data. On the picture, you can see a lot of stuff. A lot of it you probably will never need. Interestingly, the browser also will tell the server, hey, I'm the browser of this version, I'm Google Chrome of this version running on macOS 10. This is an example of a data that you can use in this server to make a different decision. You can say, okay, if the server, if the client is looking at this page from a MacBook, put prices 20% higher, right? Because they have a MacBook. It's a matter of money. So actually, this is what people do a lot in practice. If you go to Broadway shows and you buy tickets online, try to spoof your browser so they don't know what you're using, because they actually increase the price sometimes. Well, I can see the silence. I assume everyone understands everything. Okay, let's go on a particular example. How do you load a web page? And I'm using Facebook.com just because I need some name. In reality, everything is a little bit more complicated, but this is a simplified example. So imagine you have a browser window on the left and a lot of servers from Facebook in Palo Alto somewhere, or Menlo Park in California on the right. And what you want to do, you want to open Facebook.com. What do? So you type in Facebook.com, press enter, and a lot of stuff happens, but simplified. Your browser tells the server over the internet, please give me this page. And it's a GET request, as we learned. The server is like, okay, here's the HTML page with your Facebook page, I guess. Here's the response with the HTML page. So we got the HTML page, it's in the browser now. And your HTML page has references to JavaScript, images, CSS, all the goodness that comes together with the page. It's not there yet, so you need to request it again. The browser says, okay, I found references to all these files, please give them to me. And this is like a GET request, additional GET request for each of them. And the server says, okay, here's the files one by one. And bytes transfer over the optic fiber to your browser. and you get all of them. And your browser says, okay, I got all the information I need. Now I can actually render everything. So magic happens. And your page and your files becomes this beautiful page with images and additional information and photos. And you're like, yes, reload this page. So what happens when you want to post a comment or a status? I don't know. Looks like I'm now not requesting the information, I'm actually giving the information to Facebook. So here I would need a different type of request. And in this case, it would be logical to send a post request to the server saying, hey, here's my message, this is what I want to post, let everyone know this is what I say. And Facebook will be like, okay, I got it, process this information, and say, okay, success. So these are two types of requests that browsers usually make. There are probably like 5 more common ones, but for now, I'll tell you about get and post. Any questions? Yeah.
So when you post the status, don't you get an updated page also? So
Yeah, it's a good question. The question is, when you post something to the server, do you get back a page? And it really depends. In a very classical web that people were building in 2000s, yes, you would get the updated page back, right? You would get something that you would display completely new. In the modern day, like you can just reply response OK and check it in your JavaScript. It really depends on the implementation. There are no rules. There are just best practices. Looks like now the questions. Okay, so this is what server and clients are. And now that you know these concepts, let's actually understand what you're going to do in your code on your server-side software. So usually there are like a lot of parts. There are like parts that talk to database, there are parts that handle additional logic, process images, but we're going to focus on 2 parts that are very essential to the web development, and we call them routes and views. So usually you have routes, right? And what routes are, they're just a path in your URL that you're accessing. And I highlighted everything that is path except for the last one. The last one is a bit incorrect. Question mark x equals 1 is not part of the path. But the idea is that it's a slash separated path that identifies what page you're looking at. And for example, in case of Facebook, you can have some username, right? It's not a fixed string. It could be any string that you'll pass out and figure out what user you should show. So here's an example how you would do it in Node.js framework called Express. It's not really important what's going on here. Just focus on the string /profiles : user ID. In this case, what we want to tell the framework that we're using is we want to create a route that always begins with /profiles. Then it always has a slash, and then it has some sequence of letters and numbers identifying the user IDs that I want to use and figure out what user I want to see. And then you can just extract it from the parameters. And it will be some string. It depends what user requested. And I put a link where you can read more about it. So views, what are views? Views is a very similar concept, but it's different. It's more relevant to what you show to the user. So think about templates. Think about a page, like multiple pages on Facebook that look almost the same. The only difference is some personalized data depending on the user you're looking at or user group. So I gave 2 examples here. On the left there is a Facebook profile, and on the right there is Facebook group. They are different, but every page within one group is very similar. So for every Facebook profile, you have like a name, you have a profile picture, you have like list of friends and statuses. For Facebook groups, the interface looks different. You have a different menu on the left. You have a cover picture, but you don't have a profile picture. And again, you have posts. So think of views as different templates that you serve to your users, depending on what kind of page they're looking at. And as you can guess, views are very deeply related to routes. Like depending on, let's say you have two routes. One route is /profiles user ID. Another route is /group/group ID, right? And if you have, if you receive a profile template that is irrelevant to the group. So here's the whole request response cycle that I try to illustrate here simplistically. Let's say a request comes in and it says, okay, I want to see website.com profiles Taylor, right? And you know that it matches to a particular route that you defined in your server-side code. It matches to the profile route. And there's some logic, getting the information from the database and understanding what you need to show if you can't show it. Eventually, you decide to take the template for a profile, populate it with the data of the profile, make it in an HTML page, and then send it back to the browser. So this is a very high-level overview of how it all happens. And questions so far? Frameworks. So I didn't know I need to talk about frameworks as well. Apparently this word appeared on my lecture name. But here's what I can tell. Developing web software is pretty hard. There are like a lot of things you will need to do. And frameworks exist for one simple reason, is to make it easier, to make it faster to develop, and make everyone work with the same tool set. So if everyone on your team works with the same framework, they all know the same commands from the same framework, usually you can collaborate pretty efficiently. If everyone always builds their own thing out of other components, you would need to collaborate a little bit more and figure out what you can share and what you can use. So if you go to GitHub, explore, there's a whole page with like frameworks that you can use. We will teach you Express, which is a very simple JavaScript framework for Node. We chose Express because it has very small functionality, it's very easy to use, and it doesn't really do that much, so it's really hard to get confused. Everything else listed here, Meteor, Rails, Django, they're like more advanced frameworks that do a lot more things for you. They require a lot more time to master. But also, in addition to that, they provide you a lot more value if you know how to use them well. So this is for the future. Do your own research and figure out what you want to use. We'll teach you Express. And that's it. If you have any questions, ask now or never.
We're on the side.
No?